Hello and welcome to Pardon the Interception, week 8 with myself, Lee Wood, my co-hosts.
Hey guys, it's Conrad Williams again.
And myself, Nick Taylor. Hello.
So let's have a look at what's been going on in Gridiron this week as we attempt to stumble through all of the leagues as we're getting closer to the end of the season. So start off with the GFL. Conrad, what made this first game, the Tuscany Raiders at the Mustangs, stand out to you?
Yeah, well, I think at this stage of the season, I'm still trying to look at some of the top clashes and teams that will either be topping their division or nearing the top. Games that might determine who goes through and who doesn't go through, or just to kind of get a bit of a weight for a feeling of the weight of teams when they're facing each other in the playoffs soon. So, these either of these two teams probably will find their way into the playoffs one way or another, and so it's a good opportunity to take a look at a sort of top of the table kind of clash. Great result, of course, for the Raiders, getting the win here against top quality opposition in the form of Coach Stevens. I think in terms of like the game quality itself, this mentioned on the comments, actually, Raiders pass protection did a great job. Not that they are sort of a super pass oriented team, but it just kept them from wrecking drives by having their quarterback sacked in the middle of them and disrupting the churning that was going on the run game. Their running back Aiken is one of these elite drafted players who is going to rack up a lot of yards for you, and you don't want to mess up his drives by cutting it off with a sack. So yeah, great offensive performance, and yeah, turnovers pretty tight. So you can kind of say maybe the best team won that one.
Okay, Nick, anything further to add?
No, it looked like a good close battle between two teams that were looking to make the playoffs, and as Conrad said, great pass protection there. Close games on most of the stats, and yeah, good game overall.
Okay, and the second game we've got is the District 12 Gunslingers at supposedly not the Mustangs again. Actually, not the Mustangs again. I'm going to guess they
Death
were
Valley Black Knights.
Death Valley Black Knights. There we go. Conrad, do you want to talk us through this?
Yeah, so we had the Gunslingers last week as well. I think not to do them down, because although they've lost again, it is to some now divisional champions in the form of the Death Valley Black Knights. Again, this is an interesting sort of test game to see where the teams are at. D12 have the disadvantage of being on the road. And they're still, as previously mentioned, a young team with a lot to offer, and did really well in this one. Obviously, didn't come back with the win from the home of the Black Knights, but Coach Jan is good experienced coach, and now he's topped the division with basically a really, really strong offensive performance in this one. You look at the yardage that they racked up. Death Valley produced a lot on the ground and in the air. Just getting it done one way or another with a balanced offense. District 12 hung in there for a while. As mentioned in the comments, the kicker did have a bit of a nightmare. He missed 3 separate field goals, all in a sort of 40-ish yard kind of distance, which is not ideal. Not really living up to his long boot name in that he can't boot it long or short. But yeah, it's a good match, and I think it's not over for the Gunslingers yet. The teams that they have lost to en route to their 5-3 record are the best teams, so there's still a good chance for them in terms of playoff contention.
Nick, anything further to add?
I think this just shows how strong the Black Knights have been throughout the season. I think they've won most of their games fairly comfortably, and actually, this game and the previous game just show how helpful it is to have a nice balanced offense. Through the Black Knights and the two previous teams all having over 100 yards rushing and passing makes quite a big difference.
Okay, let's move on and look at the top performers in the GFL this week. So we see the Brooklyn Breakers had their QB and wide receiver hook up for quite a large number of passing yards, nearly 550 passing yards and over 400 404 yardage not found go into Muzzy. And good to see the Lightning having a player up, because I know that Coach Sheridan is having an unusual season where he is having a losing season this year, but it's always good to see some light coming through of the potential upswing that the team are likely to see in later years.
Yeah, the poor old Lightning are definitely having a bit of a rebuilding wipeout at the moment, and they'll be very glad to see that at least one of their players has produced something. And 3 interceptions, yeah, one taken for a touchdown, 82 yards. It's all great. Nice to see the CB doing well.
Okay, Nick, anything to add before we look at the playoff picture?
No. Let's head on there.
So we can see here that we have four divisions locked up and 2 further teams locked up with at least a wild card slot. So we have 6 of the 12 playoff teams are known. Is this something that we usually expect to see in the GFL, or do we expect to see it more of an open league?
I mean, I'd say this is not unusual. You will always have a few teams that are in a bit of a rebuild mode and that knock themselves out of contention. You will always have some teams that are significantly stronger than other teams. Equally well, it's not, not everything is locked up after week 8. You've got 4 divisions determined in our fancy new tabulated playoff picture thing. You've still got 4 that aren't, and you've got wildcards that have not yet been decided. So, some of these teams in the guaranteed wildcard spots might ultimately win their divisions and pass that slot on to someone else further down. So, it's about, it's half done, but there's another half to go. And within 2 weeks, we'll see the full picture. But obviously, the teams that are here and locked, they're going to be some of the biggest threats. And certainly you'd expect the Black Knights and the Wraiths to be skipping the first round of the playoffs and go straight to the divisionals, which is nice. You get a bit of a week off.
Okay. Nick, anything further to add?
No, I covered it all there.
Okay, let's move on to the Atlantic. So the first game we've got to look at is the Snow Bears at the Blues. Nick, what jumped out to you about this game?
Well, the main thing that jumped out was that the Blues actually won this game. I think the Blues have been through an interesting season. I think I started off saying that they had potential early on in the season, and then they went through. I think they lost their first game or 2. Didn't look particularly at the races, but the last 4 or 5 weeks, they've really shown their potential. They beat the Sonics last week, and they've beaten the Bears this week, which are 2 teams everyone expects to make the playoffs. And so this really shows the credentials of the Blues. No longer a team that you can write off. And I think the most interesting part is actually they've done a lot of it through defense. Cornerback Crum here has had quite the game. I think he got 2 or 3 interceptions. And their passing game is good enough to keep them in most games. Whether they've got enough for the playoffs, I mean, they're there or thereabouts. If they had a running game, that would be a huge uptick in where they'd be. But to beat the Snow Bears is a big statement.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Nick that the Blues have been a bit of a surprise package in that people have not really expected them to go so far as they have done. I don't think. As the season has matured, they have just picked up some really big results. And I think I mentioned this last week. They've just been quietly going about their business, but they keep claiming some big scalps. So definitely a big factor in the MFC playoffs is going to be, where are the Blues in all this? And it's gone from being, are they even going to be in the playoffs to, who are they going to beat in the playoffs? And, are they going to make the conference game? These kind of questions are now becoming more valid.
Okay. Right, and the second game we have to look at is the Marineville Stingrays at the Brighton and Hove Islanders. Conrad, what do you make of this?
Well, the Stingrays are, they're on top, and they're one of the top CFC teams. The fact that even they were pushed this close by the Islanders is, yeah, probably good news for the Islanders. Admittedly, the Islanders are at home here. You know, you pretty much know what you're going to get out of the Islanders. It's going to be a solid, you know, diligent kind of short passing game. The Stingrays love to run the ball, as you can see here. They've got one running back who's got 25 carries for 182 yards, really producing a lot of yardage. Yeah, it's just a good competitive battle, right? The pass versus run kind of situation. One running team, one passing team. The not much to choose between the two sides in terms of first downs and turnovers. So yeah, good and competitive. Keeps the Stingrays on top. But the Islanders, you know, will feel that they're still in with a shout here. That despite this defeat, it's no harm losing to a team that's, you know, undefeated. So you can expect, yeah, they're in the division of death, of course, the Islanders, and we might talk about that again in playoff locks. But it's Stingrays are sorted, Islanders are still battling.
The one question I will have is: are they a better team at Marineville, or were they a better team when they were at Ontario?
Well, they can stand by for action stations and get all the Super Mario Nation now they're in Marineville, so that's probably better.
Nick, what did you make of this game?
Yeah, so being in the same division as Brighton, ultimately I did want them to lose this game, but they haven't lost in it in convincing fashion. So they're still well in the picture. They're on 5-3, 2 wins, I'd say almost definitely makes the playoffs now. So they'll be looking to pick up those 2 wins over the next couple of weeks. Stingrays have looked good all season. They're up there with the Stallions, the 2 teams that are 8-0 in the Atlantic. So you'd expect them to win this game, and they've won a game that's tough. And whilst it is a close win, I'm sure Chris will be very happy that he's won a close game like this away to the Islanders. It will really boost the confidence going into the playoffs.
And I see we have a lesser spotted MVP of a centre as well. Probably helped by assuming a lot of these 281 rushing yards were up the middle in the 1 and 2 gaps. Right. Moving on to look at the top player performances around. We can see Crum has made it into here. Good performance by Boland for the Spitfires, and a good day in the air for Bloomer of the Cyclones in a shutout win.
Yeah, I don't know how Greg gets so much out of his running back, because he's one of these like 40-40-20 off QST hybrid guys. So, well, I'll answer my own question and say probably his offensive line is beastly, because with 40 quickness and 40 strength, you don't generally expect your running back to do anything. Of course, he might be level massive, but it's not the sort of the guy you would naturally expect to be dominating on the rushing front. You expect that to be your 60 quicknesses, your 60 strengths, guys who were elite when they were drafted, all that stuff. So he's an unconventional champion, Boland.
Okay. Moving on to the playoff picture, we can see that we only have 3 teams locked for playoff action. 2 of those with division championships, and one wild card guaranteed. I think, if I remember the standings correctly, there's a lot of teams knocking on the door, so I expect a lot more to be locked up after this week's results, depending on how exactly they fall. Nick?
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of locking up in the MFC this week. There's a lot of teams at the top there, and whoever loses is probably out, and whoever wins will probably be in this week. In the CFC, it's a bit of a closer run thing, although we might see the same. There's a few teams on 4-4, and if they lose, they won't be able to make the playoffs. It all comes down probably to the CFC East and how myself and the Islanders do, as we're both a game ahead of the rest. So an interesting week for sure.
Because it's also being a divisional week. It's going to set whether you're 5-0 in your division, 4-1, 3-2 in your division. That can be the tiebreaker difference at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you got, I think, coming up to quite a lot of good teams having a soft run in, so that will again settle a lot of this stuff quite quickly. It might look like, yeah, not much has been decided, but actually the teams, most of the teams that are topping their respective divisions are probably going to walk it. The CFC East being a possible exception.
Okay. Moving on to the Big Sky, the first game we've got to look at, it's the Webster Super Weasels at the Norwich Sun Devils, one of the teams with the lesser spotted draw. Nick, what can you tell us about this game?
So here we have two teams that were, I mean, they're borderline sort of playoff contention. This game, I mean, like the win here will mean a lot to whoever took it, and Norwich got out well ahead early on with 24 points in the first quarter. They of course have the tiebreaker draw from earlier on in the season, which puts them slightly above, teams like the Weasels, and they've gone into this game and off the back of another good win. I think it was a shutout last week, and so they'll be looking to build on this and on last week. It's a fairly convincing win, and it will certainly spur them on going forward. Their passing offense looks like it's working pretty well for them. Defense is doing relatively well as well, and I think Norwich will be very pleased to have taken this game and continued to just about be in the picture for the playoffs. I mean, I think the Weasels might still just about have a chance of making the playoffs, and they've had a tough schedule. I think their losses before were to some of the stronger teams in the Big Sky. So yeah, they can't be too downhearted from this performance, but yeah, big win for Norwich, and yeah, one of the teams to look out for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, great long bombing offense there from the Sun Devils, and putting up with only 7 first downs, still 24 points in the first quarter, 34 points overall. There's definitely some big Hail Mary star passes there. The other thing is, I used to think that I did think from memory that the Weasels were just called the Weasels. I'm not sure when they became the Super Weasels. I wonder what special treatment they had to get there.
Unless they're from the town of Webster Super.
Sister town to Tennant Super.
Oh, geez. And next game we've got to look at is the Weymouth Bay Huskies at the Central Coast Surfers. Nick.
Yeah, so this game, you'd probably expect the Surfers to have won. They're 5-2. Huskies are 2-5, and we've got Gary Stevens again, who we saw earlier in the GFL as well. It was an interesting game because the Huskies got out well ahead by half time, and I think I think the Surfers battled back to get back into the game. So I think they got it back to 21-20. They were ahead, and then with 5 minutes left in the game, I think almost everything happened in the play-by-play. They had I think the Surfers missed a field goal, if I remember correctly, and then there was a Weymouth touchdown as well shortly after that to put them ahead, and then the Surfers put a big drive together, and 58 minutes and 20 seconds on the board, 5 yards from the end zone, 5-yard option pass on 4th down, doesn't quite get there, and Weymouth took the win here. Big goal for the Huskies there. Yep. It's a big win for the Huskies. I mean, if they're looking to build towards the end of the season and see where they are, I mean, this is perfect for them. The Surfers will be kicking themselves a little bit here, but they've still got 2 games left to try and get into those playoffs.
Okay, Conrad, anything further to add?
No, nothing apart from that it's a 5-yard option pass to finish on the 0, inches from the goal line is it's pretty bad.
Okay, let's look at the best of the rest. And is there a reason we don't see Tripson here?
He was only 3rd best receiver this week, So he didn't quite make it onto the list. Rasmussen, as always, makes it onto the list though. Fremont Fire, he is pretty much their offense, and gets another 5 touchdowns this week. And then we see a few more options from the Washington Stormers and the Seattle Generals here this week.
Okay, and then the playoff picture in the Big Sky, we can see that 3 teams have locked up, and then we can see the Venice Rivets 8-0, but only guaranteed a wild card. They actually haven't clinched their division yet.
Yeah, still quite wide open, bar the teams that have locked up. As we just said, the Rasmussen has run the Fire into the playoffs. I think we've covered the Shadows a few times. They've looked pretty impressive. And of course, the Swarming Giant Hornets of Trips and Fame have locked up their division too. And yeah, so 3 teams you'd probably expect to make the playoffs, and we all expect the Rivets to make the playoffs too. So yeah, I think with the Big Sky we'll see quite a few more developments next week, much like the A. But yeah, we've got 3 teams here. You'd expect to make the playoffs and make a good fist of the playoffs as well. So,
Conrad, anything to add before we move on to the C?
No, let's do it. Let's go.
Okay, so the first game we have to look at is the Barcelona Hangers at the Thunder Bay Rabid Beavers. So, given the records going in, wasn't 100% sure where the game was going to go, but we see the Hangers taking a little bit of a lead at the start, then failing to put any points up in the second half, allowing the Beavers to come back and squeak out a win in a passing heavy game.
Yes, so many interceptions. The poor old Barcelona Hangers. Having got started in the first half, then proceeded to cough it up 5 times chucked it straight to the opposition. You wonder how many of those actually came in the second half to dent their scoring chances. Probably more than a few. And yeah, you're not going to put many points on the board if you just keep throwing it into the secondary of the opposition.
Yeah, the Hangers have left it out hanging there. We're ready for what looks like cornerback Zinger to pick up all the pieces. There's quite a few records there. 6 field goals made, 8 attempted, and 5 interceptions achieved. That's so
the Beavers actually only scored a single touchdown.
Yeah. So that's some good going.
Anything?
Kicker's doing his job. He's getting paid. He's getting paid to do that, and he's done it.
Anything further to add before we move on?
No.
Okay, the second game we've got to look at is the Angels at the Marauders. And see here a very high scoring pass-led game again, despite quite a large differential in time of possession, not too much a differential in terms of score, and the Marauders managing to hold on at the end of the day and squeak out a win. Looking at the possession, would have thought that maybe there was a short passing offense going here, but with the completion averages, not entirely sure what was going on with that. But
another one again, of these another 5 interception game. Yeah,
7 interceptions in the entire game.
Yeah. Looks like the Marauders running back didn't fancy holding onto the ball either.
6 fumbles, not a team record as well.
Yeah, a bit somewhat ugly in terms of turnovers. I suspect, and again, having not looked at the play-by-play, it looks like the North Yorkshire Angels were running in more of a deep zone attack, and the Nashville Marauders were on the more of a short zone attack, just based on the colossal number of interceptions that Yorkshire were chucking, plus the slightly higher completion average. So they still managed to pick up some yards. But I mean, it was an upset win overall in this one because Nashville were not so high up the table. So good job there on them to stay in there and get the result.
Okay. Moving on to the top performing players. The top 2 are different players, despite my eyes reading them exactly the same. So we can see the Arctic Badgers running back having a good day out on the field. Highlanders wide receiver, putting up a stupid number of yards for a single player. And then a cornerback from the Wasps getting it done, including an interception to the house.
Yeah, we like to talk about Strom from the Arctic Badgers. We've had Strom watch for many weeks, but as we've gradually revealed over time, the true weapon on the Arctic Badgers in terms of the run game is this guy Anguta. So he's really, controlling things, and Strom just goes for the glory plays and the sort of bizarre stat lines like 5 fumbles and four touchdowns, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and Guta's definitely the one to watch. Although Strom did have a pretty good performance, I believe. It was around 150 yards as well. So the Arctic Badgers running backs are certainly doing the business.
Okay, and onto the playoff picture, we can see that 3 teams have clinched, and then one guaranteed wild card at least for the 8-0 Badgers. Good to see Coach Quantrill back in control, and good to see the Classics making the playoffs here. Are we going to see a season where the Black Mountain Thunderbirds don't make a strong run for the playoffs? I think every time I look at the Continental, they're always doing pretty well.
I mean, I think they will make another strong run at the playoffs. Good, as you say, to see Chris Quantrill back. He's done a little circle round of leaving for personal reasons and managing to get back in the same seasons. That's good. Yeah, I think we've talked about pretty much all the teams that are locked here at some stage, and they're all good. So it's surprising that the Badgers aren't already in. So that suggests to me that the second place team in their division is also on a strong record.
Yeah. Yeah, there's quite a few teams who are around 6-2, sort of in that side of the league, and I think as we've said in some of the other leagues, the Arctic Badgers will probably lock it up this week. It just depends on a few results, and actually you might find that quite a few teams lock it up. If there's an 8-0 team there or thereabouts, it tends to mean there's quite a few 6-2 teams around. So a couple of them losing, a couple of them winning, and that locks up quite a lot of a conference quite easily.
Okay, moving on to the Delta. First game we've got to look at is the Jorvik Jets at the Virginia Copperheads. There's a bit of a rivalry going on between myself and Coach Howe across both the Delta and the Atlantic. He did beat me in the Atlantic last week or the week before, and I was looking to take revenge out in the Delta this week. Managed to switch up my run first offense a little bit this week to be more of a passing attack. For some bizarre reason, my stances didn't save, so I actually didn't have any defensive stances in this week at all. Not even the default stances according to the team sheet. But still managed to squeak out a win. I think most importantly by a interception return for a touchdown. So cornerback feeder going 45 yards to the house. They did really try and make it hard at the end of the day, and as you can see, Kendall took it very, very well and hardly swore at all.
This is Lee's gloating game, basically. So part of an interception brings Jets gloat. But no, it's a good match though. And yeah, I don't know what things are going like in the playoff picture for the Delta, so we'll hear about that in a minute. But is Kendall still going to make it?
He still possibly can, yes. Couple of reasons I chose this game. One, it was a close game. Two, a lot of the people before the game were calling it the game of the week to watch in the league, and it did not disappoint.
Good passing yardage on both sides, not too many turnovers, so actually decent quality rather than some of those pretty horrendous 5 interception games we've just been through.
Yeah, and running a 3-3 all game with no stances meant that Tatlock, who is a quality running back, managed to run over my defense a little more than I would have hoped for. Right, and then the other game we've got to look at is the Frome Katanas at the Shanklin Sunner Blazers, and in what was not the shock result of the season, but a shocking result for the week. Frome lost by a considerable margin, and I think this is the lowest points they've put up in a game for many years, showing that the Sunblazers are not just a flash in the pan here. I know the Katanas have a little bit of an injury crisis going on, but still, the defense is solid, and Glenn managed to work his way through the defense pretty well. Managed to put up a good number of passing yards, and Eisenhart just didn't really get the running game going, which has been what's been keeping the Katanas in many games this year.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about turnovers earlier, but then of course I didn't factor in that we might have one with 16 in a single game, which is an absolute avalanche of turnovers. Poor old Frome, yeah, definitely on the receiving end here. Find me a successful coach who doesn't have two teams as well. I guess every time we look at a team that's doing well, it's like, which other league are they also playing in? But yeah, upset result, right? This is an upset result with the Sunblazers winning, and it's gonna certainly leave a bit of head scratching in its wake.
Yeah, not only have we ended up picking two of Lee's games, we also picked two of Gary's games, and I think they lost all of them. So just an unfortunate week for those guys. But yeah, like the Sunblazers actually look like the defense has really done them a solid one here. Like 5 interceptions and 8 sacks. I don't think the Frome quarterback will be walking for the next week after that performance. It looks like they've certainly done the job on defense there.
Okay, let's take a look at the leading players. So Buernen of the up and coming Centurions, in one of the most interesting divisions to watch currently, putting up nearly 600 yards. The Fury coming back into form with Razzlefaust getting nearly 300 yards and averaging over a first down a carry, and then the wide receiver of Hunt putting up 400 yards. I'm going to round. He's allowed the extra yard, and being a rookie as well.
It was a measuring error.
Anything to add before we look at the playoff picture?
No, let's go.
Okay. So we don't have many divisions locked up. We do have six teams locked into the playoffs, however, mainly coming from the GFC. The only VFC lock we have is the Katanas. We have both the Hammer Sharks and the Robber Barons topping their divisions. Venom are very likely to lock up this week, and the reason you see La Jolla and the Warriors both there as wild cards at 7-1 is because they're in the same division. That is going to be a ding dong battle there, as there is also a good rivalry between those coaches as well. The VFC is going to get a lot clearer this week. The GFC is starting to at least know which teams are going to make the playoffs now. I think there's only one wildcard slot left to compete for.
I'm just waiting for the Cougars to appear on this list so we know who's knocking Simon out of the playoffs this year.
Yep, yeah, that is definitely a possibility. They are pushing for the last wild card slot. So moving on to the Empire, we have the Thundering Herd at the North London Gamblers. Nick.
Yeah, so this we've featured the Herd before, and they've always been a fun one to watch, and they're still there or thereabouts, and winning some games, losing some games. It's always entertaining though. I think the Gamblers did a good job of stopping the Herd here. they've put up a good rushing performance and a good passing performance, and it's pretty close at half time. The game, well, I think going into the third quarter was only 21-24. So yeah, like the game was close going into the fourth quarter, but then an unfortunate turn of events with I think an interception leading to a field goal, and then in the last sort of run, the Gamblers managed to pick up another touchdown just before, seconds before the end. So it keeps the Gamblers in the playoff contention, although Ken will looks like he'll agree to disagree here with their running back taking a G this week. So it's a tough one to take, certainly at this point in the season. And the Herd are certainly in there or thereabouts. I think their division has 3 teams that could still win it. So interesting one to watch there.
Yeah, I mean, G, of course, the worst class of injury, and he's unlikely to be fit for the playoffs if they do make the playoffs. I noticed that the Gamblers have got Doofenshmirtz Jr. at quarterback, who presumably is the son of the legendary running back Heinz Doofenshmirtz of the Atlantic, who retired some time ago. So, he's clearly not followed in his father's footsteps, and he's become a quarterback instead of a running back. But
no, he ran once and got
bootlegged it.
4 yards. It counts.
Yeah.
Anything further to add, Conrad, before we move to the next game?
Yeah, it's a sad day that Nash gets the MVP and then gets a G class. So yeah, the North London Gamblers will try and graft out the last bit of the season, but it's going to be tough for them.
And then the other game we've got to look at is the Inverglen Sharks at the SoCal Rangers. Nick.
Yeah, so this one was a real passing battle. The play-by-play is actually really good for this game. It was obviously, as you can see, close at halftime. Just after halftime, there was a kickoff fumble that led to a touchdown, and then with 10 minutes to go, it was 33-37. And then I think Inverglen got to first and inches, I think, within those last 10 minutes, and only to throw an interception. And then SoCal tried to give it away by fumbling as well, and giving Inverglen another chance, and they couldn't quite do it. They see it. 53 minutes and 50 seconds, option pass left intercepted in the end zone, and then SoCal get to the 6-yard line, get sacked, lose the ball, to give Inverglen another shot at getting the win over the line, but they couldn't quite do it. And yeah, this was a really exciting game to watch. 33-37, you probably expect it to be exciting as well. And 2 teams that certainly didn't hold back. 600 yards and 500 yards of passing. That's a lot of passing yards there. As we can see, turnovers as well, 5 turnovers each. I think there were quite a few turnovers in the first half, which led to touchdowns and field goals, or were deep in opposition's half and losing the ball. And yeah, like this was a great game to watch. And two teams that were, they've got chances of making the playoffs. And yeah, like this game was great. And as we can see, the SoCal Rangers quarterback there has a quarterback rating of 155, which really shows what they can do on their day.
Completed over 97% of his passes, 36 of 37, no interceptions. So yeah, that's about as good as it gets. I see that it looks like Coach James Haydock may possibly be thinking of calling time on the franchise. So let's hope he goes out with a bang and gets some more big results before the end. The other thing is, some rules expert needs to tell me what a jailbreak screen is, because I've never heard of that before. I was on the play-by-play near the start.
It's one of the boutique plays, I think. Yeah, it's obviously a boutique play off of the screen. I can get some X's and O's at some point off first stream. All right, let's look at the top performers in the league. So Legend has a legendary performance for the High Hunters here in a resounding win, running for over 300 yards, 8 touchdowns. Greedy. Kimbrell's performance, which would be one of the best running backs in any other given week, looks a little worse than it probably should. And Sand for the Russians having a good day out with a good completion average as well. Nick?
Yeah, as you can see here, it was a battle of Sand versus Kimbrell, and Kimbrell took this one. The High Hunters, we've I believe touched on Legend before. He working alongside Pat, but this time Legend's picked up 48 of the points scored this week, and living up to his name at the moment.
Okay, the playoff picture, we can see that 2 teams have clinched, and that's it. Nothing else has clinched. The Empire is probably the most open league going into week 9. I know we spoke about this briefly at the start, and I think that's a great place for a league to be. Many teams have everything to play for in week 9.
Yeah, congratulations, the Empire, for being the most competitive of all the leagues. There you go.
Yeah, the Empire's actually been great to follow this season. As you can see, Tomahawks and Bounty have locked up, and people have obviously spoken of the Kings and the High Hunters, and they've both lost games. The Thundering Herd haven't found any consistency. The Wranglers have lost a game here and there, and yeah, like almost every division is open, and there's a lot to play for, and exciting times in the Empire.
Okay. Okay. Thank you all for this week. Thank you all for watching. Good luck to all of those teams trying to make the playoffs, and good luck to all those teams that have made the playoffs. Hopefully that you don't get too many injuries on your team unless you're a playoff team facing me. Conrad, any closing words?
Yeah, you know, we're where we are in the season right now. We're advancing steadily towards the final games. Some people will be thinking, you know, how do I go about getting into the playoffs? Some people will be thinking, what's my next season going to look like, or how can I mitigate the embarrassment of this season? How can I get a higher draft pick? You know, it depends where you are at this point. But there's still 2 weeks to go. And there's certainly, as you will have seen from our playoff locks, not everything is locked up yet. So keep your eyes peeled, and we'll let you know what happens in weeks 9 and 10.
Nick, any closing words from you?
I think Conrad summed it up well. It's a good week to just take 5 minutes to reevaluate what you need to do for the last couple of weeks. Are you looking to push forward, see where your team can get to for those last 2 weeks, make a bit of a statement before the end of the season? Are you looking to push for the playoffs, or you push up your draft pick a little bit? It's worth a quick 5-minute thought process, and then get on it. Good luck with this week.
Okay, with that, it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.